of the event. We've got Phil, who's the SVP of Marketing and Growth over at Simulmedia, here to talk to us today about TV as your next performance channel. And I know this is a hot button topic, an issue for many of the folks who are tuning in here today. So Phil's got about 10 minutes for you. And the great thing about these presentations is we're good at getting great marketers together to talk about, you know, all the challenges and best practices and things like that in the industry, whatever topic we're covering. But folks like Phil and his company and other sponsors, you'll see they're really good at actually putting them into action, and they have the tools and resources here that make it possible. So Phil, I see you're here. How are you doing, my friend?
I am excellent. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. Excited to see the presentation. Let's pull up your screen just to make sure your deck is showing and you're in presentation mode. Okay, you're looking good. Hey, so I hear TV's too expensive. Is that true?
Well, no, we're going to try to convince you that it's not too expensive. You get what you pay for. And by the way, I love following Ryan's presentation on Peloton, because one of the last things he said was TV is a key channel for him, and it drove both awareness and efficient engagement. And I that he couldn't have set up a more perfect lob for my conversation, which is terrific.
Wow, fantastic. Well, cool. We're looking forward to it. Thank you for being here. We appreciate your support. And I won't take up any more of your time. The floor is yours, sir. Take it away.
Thank you. I just want to make sure my presentation slides up, not my calendar.
Nope,
is that right? Because
you're live and ready. It looks great.
All right, thank you, and hello and welcome everybody. I'm super excited to be here and joining the folks at Media Post for the Brand Insider Summit. And I love speaking with this particular audience because I myself have been a DTC marketer many times over my career, and I've always had to prove to my management that TV, in fact, could be a great performance channel, which drives the performance and raises the tide of all the other channels. So that's what we'll talk about for about 10 or so minutes today. I have a lot of content, so I'm going to move pretty quickly. I'll leave my contact information after so that you can get in touch if I've gone too fast. But I say no really as TV with TV as a performance medium because I'm questioned about it all the time by D2C marketers because they do think it's so expensive, like John says. And honestly, TV has been a performance medium since 1941, where it's gotten presidents elected, where the first advertisements were shown, and where it has sold products and built brands, you know, ever since it began. In one of my last speaking engagements, I polled the audience, and exactly as you'd expect, about half the audience thought it was too expensive. About a third said it's not measurable. 14% said they didn't have the expertise, and another 14% said, oh, digital handles everything I need. And I don't believe any of those to be true. And I'll share a little bit more about each. But first, let's talk about the hungry bottom of the funnel that a lot of DTC marketers are spending their time in. I've spent tens of millions of dollars there in lots of my career, and it's becoming increasingly expensive. And I'll quantify that in a minute. It's super cluttered. It's getting very cookie challenged. And fortunately, we have ways to address that. It's over retargeted, and we're beating the same people over the head again and again with the same ads, thinking that that's going to help the brand, which it won't, or increase performance, which it can, but within limits. And it has crazy delivery and viewability issues. In a recent campaign that I had verified, about 40 to 45% of the impressions for a display campaign weren't even visible above the fold, yet the supply was credited for serving those, even though my potential customers never even saw a single banner. So there are issues like that we can combat, and certainly with the sight, sound, and motion and full screen effect of TV and video. It's getting expensive. Other than desktop display, which is actually decreasing in cost because I guess people are seeing the lack of efficacy there. Other than inflation, all the digital channels are growing much faster than the rate of inflation. TV's in there, but not growing, but not increasing quite as fast as mobile search and desktop search and display. So that's one uphill battle that we all have to face as marketers, and we need other options. So let's talk about TV before and after. TV used to be based on broad demographics where you were targeting people because of their gender and a wide age range. You really had very little insight into how things converted. and you had to spend a ton to get noticeable results. Plus you had to wait for those results, which was kind of a drag because you're reacting to 10 days ago, and how can you possibly optimize that quickly in today's economy 10 days ago? Today, however, TV is surgical in terms of its ability to target if you're using it right. It provides real-time reporting. It has an affordable cost of entry, which people don't believe, but you can probably start testing into a TV campaign for about 25K. That's not inclusive of, on location shots in Hawaii, but still, it's something you can test in, and certainly a lot of you are spending more than that in the digital channels. It has through the line accountability, and I'll share a little bit about how we measure that. It has advanced measurement techniques that help you attribute across your different platforms. And we have the ability to understand interests, not just these broad demos, which is a big deal. And we'll talk a little bit about that. We also can't ignore connected TV. Connected TV is absolutely here to stay. And it also provides a certain sense of full funnel measurement, but linear television is still the most popular. So we want to talk about both of those together, because independently you reach different audiences, but collectively you reach a much broader audience. You could measure the impact across the channels, and you can't really build a great brand foundation or even have the scale to generate demand without the scale of linear TV combined with the scale of connected TV. Linear TV still has about 8 to 8.5 times the ad impressions of CTV, which makes it a must-do as a foundation for growing an integrated TV and video campaign. Plus, viewership is still super high on linear. So the average adult watches about 4 hours of linear television, about an hour of connected TV, collectively just under 6 hours with all the other devices and platforms in play. So people are still spending more time watching TV than they're probably spending with their families, or almost as much time as they're spending at work. So it's still a big opportunity area and a big platform, if you will, for getting in front of the right eyeballs. A little repeat in terms of the difference, and this is easier to see in terms of just how many more ad impressions or the ad impression opportunity linear provides over CTV, but collectively, you're still going to reach different audiences. Throw in-game advertising on top of that, and you reach yet another elusive and hard to find younger audience from 13 to say 34, who are spending 3, 4, 5 hours a day just playing games. So TV collectively and video collectively still provides this wonderfully large opportunity and scale that you're simply not going to get with the accountability of the digital channels, because that's how at least we're buying it and we're measuring it and we're activating that for our clients today. In terms of video remaining a priority for advertisers, if you take the top linear platforms, it's still more than half of the priority for all advertisers. And then, of course, you have this long tail of all the social sites and the video sites and the other video providers to round it out. But TV and video still is the lion's share, and linear is super important, which is why Roku just recently acquired Nielsen's advanced advertising platform to more closely associate themselves with the scale that is needed in linear for a full-fledged integrated cross-platform campaign. I'm sure we've heard a lot about funnels and driving from top to bottom of the funnel during some of the earlier sessions, and without running the risk of being repetitive, TV does a great job of both widening the top of the funnel, driving engagement in the middle, and pushing people through in a measurable way to transaction. So whether your interest is getting people to take notice, to tune into programming, or to transact, TV still does a really good job of this, and it's become more performant. It also makes the other channels work better. So I've seen many situations where TV in markets versus those where TV wasn't, raised open rates for email, raised open rates for good old-fashioned ink on paper snail mail, increased click rates for banners, increased click rates for search, and increased engagement on social properties. So in addition to doing all those things, there's this really neat kind of early to mid to later adopter phenomenon that takes place, where those that added TV to their repertoire in 2 or 3 years as newer TV entrants saw massive increases in new visitors versus some of those that did it a long time ago, where the novelty might have plateaued. But for newer brands and brands that are trying to put their name on the map, TV has this great accelerator effect early on in the evolution of a D2C brand layering TV onto what they do. It also has a near immediate measurability impact, where within 2 to 5 minutes after you air spots, you can start seeing the impact on branded search terms and the impacts on spikes on traffic to understand where the ad drove beyond your normal traffic patterns, increases in visitations. So gone are the days of waiting 7 to 10 days for your post logs to see what happened and trying to tie that back to some result. Now TV has become nearly instantaneous, and not just for search, but for traffic, for all other forms of advertising, like I mentioned earlier, where it raises the tide of both the interest and engagement and social participation, and moves the ball forward from the day the spot airs. It also, which is very comforting to a lot of D2C brands, it's measured in a way that looks a lot like what you're familiar with in platforms like Google Ads or analytics, where you're getting that granular level of detail in the types of reporting that TV can now offer. So a lot of D2C marketers are really uncomfortable that all they're going to see is their IO and their post logs and have to match that back to reams of other reports and spreadsheets. That is not the case anymore. If you're comfortable with the way dashboards and online analytics and reporting works, and if you haven't been exposed to it, you're going to be very comfortable with how reporting in TV now works if you have yet to be exposed to that, where you get down to everything from the top programs people are viewing, to how many impressions were served, how many people you reached, and beyond, if we're tied into your analytics, down to the transaction level, which is the holy grail for D2C marketers. This is why a lot of new entrants into the D2C space exist. Those up on the screen: Trade, Glossier, Mercari, Echelon. Feel bad saying that right after a Peloton presentation, but they're there too, and I'll talk a little bit about how they're using it. And they are experiencing great success, both building brands and driving performance, because of all the things we've mentioned prior. So how do we find the audiences? Saying TV has historically been these broad demos and targeting people by age and gender. If you think about it, I'm a 35 to 54-year-old male. That is not a reason you should start trying to sell me hair care products just because I fit in some broad demo. Definitely not use a lot of hair care products. So that's the old way of doing things, and it's honestly not the right way of doing things. You want to target based on interest. So this is a little bit of an eye chart, so I'll just paraphrase. First step in doing this properly is analyzing your own site behavior, your own transaction behavior, taking a snapshot of that and saying, okay, who are these people? What do they look like? Then going and finding more of those through our vast third-party data partnerships and other proprietary research, then matching their IPs to where we're broadcasting, and then going to find where they're going to consume that content and that programming based on interest, not on broad genders and demos and other things that honestly are the old school way of trying to drive performance. This is much more accountable. It's based on actual interests, not guesswork, and it works, which is terrific. And I've spent years of my career trying to patch this together without these tools. Now that these tools are available, it's a game changer, and it should be a reason why people should not be reluctant or afraid to step into the world of TV and video if they're not already. There's the cookie, and we're all talking about this, so a presentation without a picture of a crumbling cookie could not pass. The good news is TV, especially the way we do TV, does not rely on cookies to be able to target. It actually, we've been cohorting, if you will, since 2008 by finding people based on interest and tracking them and understanding what type of programming they're consuming and what they do as a result of consuming that programming, and then what actions they take and what happens to close the loop. So the great news for those interested in TV that are worried about the cookie thing, You shouldn't be worried about it in the TV space. Clearly, it's going to change the game in digital. Google's already cohorting. Again, we've been cohorting since, for the last 13 or so years. We know it works, and we've refined that mousetrap, if you will. And we're excited that is not something on the horizon that we have to worry a great deal about.
Hey, I Phil, just want to let you know we're at time. We're about 13 and a half minutes. Just want to let you know.
Okay, I'm going to skip over some case studies and go to some key takeaways, but thanks for the heads up.
It's very interesting, by the way. Seriously, thank you. But I just wanted to let you know.
30 seconds. Well, maybe 45. Three takeaways for prescriptions for a successful campaign, and then we'll wrap. You need to apply performance DNA. The same rules apply. What you're measuring online, you should measure offline and expect the same top to bottom of funnel attribution and accountability. As with any other channel, you have to be realistic. You have to test. You can't necessarily expect a home run the first dollar you spend, but if you stick with it, you'll optimize and get where you want to go. And you have to take advantage of the tools you have available today. They've changed. If you haven't looked in the last 5 or 10 years, please take a look. If you can't do it yourself, find the right partner. And at the end of the day, I wish you all the best of luck in trying to make it all work.
Thank you so much. That was great. And sorry to interrupt you. You were definitely on a roll. It's very informative.
Went fast.
Hey, I know. Let me ask you, I'm sure you piqued interest of a lot of the folks that are tuned in today here. Would you be willing to put your contact information into the chat box here?
Of course.
Can reach out to you directly if they have questions.
Of course.
That's fantastic. And if people want to get more information, they can certainly reach out to you. And I know you have a team here that's tuned in as well. So appreciate all.
Hi team. So John, I put it for the panelists. Where should I? Panelists and attendees. Excuse me. Yeah. I got it. I got it.
And if it doesn't make it, I'll make sure it gets out there to them. Hey, thank you so much for doing that. Again, apologies for interrupting, but it was, like I said, very interesting. Even my publisher wrote me on the side and said, this is some interesting stuff. So there you go. You piqued his interest as well.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Pleasure being here, and have a great rest of the summit.
You got it. Thanks so much, Phil. That was great.